Gianna had always been a vibrant woman in her early 60s, full of life and laughter. She was a retired schoolteacher who loved spending her mornings tending to her garden and afternoons sharing stories with her grandchildren. But over the past few months, something subtle yet unsettling began to change. Gianna found herself more forgetful than usual, misplacing her keys, forgetting appointments, and sometimes struggling to find the right words in conversation. At first, she brushed it off as simple aging, something everyone went through. But then came the troubling dizziness that hit her one afternoon while preparing lunch, leaving her clutching the kitchen counter, afraid she might fall. When Gianna finally visited her doctor, she was met with a sober warning. The symptoms she was experiencing could be linked to toxins slowly accumulating in her body, especially from everyday foods she loved and trusted. One culprit, her doctor explained gently, was canned tuna, a staple in her diet for years. Gianna's eyes widened in disbelief. How could something so common, so seemingly harmless, be quietly affecting her brain health? The idea that mercury, a heavy metal, was silently building up in her system was both frightening and confusing. She felt betrayed by the food industry and overwhelmed by what this meant for her future. That day marked the beginning of a journey for Gianna, a transformation not just in what she ate, but in how she viewed her own well-being. She started to learn that not all tuna was created equal, and that hidden dangers could lurk even in the most ordinary places. It was a slow, sometimes frustrating process to unravel the complexities behind mercury contamination and understand how to make safer choices. But with each piece of knowledge, Gianna felt a growing sense of control. She became determined to protect her brain and body, not only for herself, but for the family she cherished so deeply. Her story is one many of us can relate to, living a full life, unaware of the silent threats that accumulate over time. Yet it is also a story of hope, of empowerment through understanding and mindful change. Through simple but meaningful adjustments in diet and habits, Gianna began to reclaim her health and peace of mind. She learned to read labels carefully, choose safer types of tuna, and balance her meals with foods rich in nutrients that help detoxify the body. More importantly, she embraced a mindset that prioritized long-term wellness over convenience or habit. As we walk through Gianna's experience together, I want you to imagine her courage and commitment. This is not just about avoiding mercury, it's about reclaiming vitality and clarity after years of neglecting subtle signs. If you or someone you love enjoys canned tuna or similar foods, this journey will offer insights and practical steps to protect your brain and body. Let's uncover the truths hidden in those familiar cans and learn how to enjoy this food safely, without fear or regret. Stay with me as we explore the 4 biggest mistakes many make with canned tuna, mistakes that could be silently harming your health. Like Gianna, you have the power to change your story and safeguard your future. It all starts with awareness and a willingness to take small steps that add up to big differences. Together, we'll navigate this path gently, with care and understanding. Gianna had always prided herself on living a healthy, balanced life. She was careful about what she ate, enjoyed regular walks in the park, and made time for her family every day. But recently, she couldn't shake off a feeling that something was wrong. It started small, a missed appointment here, a forgotten name there. More troubling were the moments when she found herself feeling dizzy or off balance, especially after meals she usually loved, like her favorite tuna salad. At first, she tried to ignore it, telling herself it was just part of getting older. But when her daughter noticed Gianna's memory lapses during a Sunday lunch and urged her to see a doctor, she reluctantly agreed. The doctor listened patiently as Gianna described her symptoms. He gently suggested that these signs might be related to a buildup of toxins in her body, particularly mercury, a heavy metal known to affect brain health if consumed in excess. Gianna was stunned. She had never thought much about mercury before, especially in everyday foods like canned tuna. The idea that this staple in her pantry could be contributing to her problems made her anxious and curious at the same time. As she left the clinic, Gianna began reflecting on her diet. Tuna had been a convenient, nutritious choice for years, packed with protein and omega-3s. She believed it was good for her heart and brain. But now she realized that not all tuna was created equal, and the risk wasn't just about eating too much, but about which type and how it was prepared. This sparked a shift in her mindset. She went from seeing tuna as an innocent, healthy food to something she needed to understand more deeply. Back at home, Gianna started researching quietly. She learned that mercury enters the aquatic food chain through pollution and accumulates in large predatory fish like tuna. What shocked her was how invisible this danger was, how it hid in the foods she trusted. The more she read, the more she felt a mix of fear and empowerment. Fear because her symptoms might be linked to this silent poison, but empowerment because knowledge gave her the chance to change. Her family noticed the change in her too. Gianna became more cautious, asking questions about the tuna she bought and even consulting nutritionists online. It was a new chapter, from unaware to awakened. Her first small step was to stop buying canned tuna without knowing exactly what type it was. This new awareness was a turning point. Though it felt overwhelming, she was determined not to let this discovery control her life negatively. This part of her journey teaches us an important truth. Sometimes our bodies give us subtle warnings long before serious damage happens. Listening carefully and being willing to question even the most familiar habits can be life-saving. Gianna's story reminds us that health isn't just about what we add to our lives, but also what we carefully choose to avoid. After Gianna's awakening to the possible dangers lurking in her diet, she dove deeper into understanding exactly what made canned tuna risky. It turned out that the problem wasn't just tuna in general, but the specific types of tuna and how much mercury each carried. She was surprised to learn there were several varieties on supermarket shelves, each with very different impacts on health. Her research revealed 3 common types: skipjack, yellowfin, and albacore. Skipjack was the smallest and youngest fish, generally lower in mercury and often simply labeled tuna on cans. Yellowfin was larger and lived longer, accumulating more mercury, while albacore, the so-called white tuna, had the highest mercury levels. This information felt like uncovering a hidden code. It explained why some cans seemed safer and cheaper, while others came with warnings or higher prices. This realization was a major mindset shift for Gianna. No longer could she mindlessly grab any canned tuna off the shelf. She learned to carefully read labels, searching for clues about the species and origin. Sometimes, brands didn't clearly state the type, adding to her frustration and wariness. But slowly, she grew confident in making smarter choices, favoring skipjack tuna and limiting consumption of the riskier varieties. Her family noticed how Gianna had started turning grocery shopping into a mission. She would take time inspecting cans, even pulling out her phone to look up brands' transparency on mercury levels. At first, her husband found it tedious, but seeing her commitment to protecting her health inspired the whole household to be more mindful of what they ate. Alongside the label reading, Gianna embraced a new truth she hadn't considered. Moderation mattered just as much as selection. Doctors and nutritionists recommended limiting canned tuna intake to avoid mercury buildup, especially for seniors like her and children in the family. This wasn't about fear, but balance, a conscious decision to enjoy tuna's benefits without risking harm. This part of Gianna's journey is a lesson in awareness and responsibility. It shows how small, informed changes in daily habits can lead to big improvements in health. By understanding the differences hidden behind familiar labels, she took control of a potential threat and turned it into an opportunity to care better for herself and those she loved. Gianna's cautious approach to choosing tuna brought her a new challenge: decoding the labels on canned fish. She soon realized that many cans simply said tuna without specifying the type, leaving her guessing what she was really buying. Sometimes cans were labeled light tuna or white tuna, terms that seemed vague and confusing. This lack of clear information made her uneasy. How could she protect herself if the packaging didn't tell the full story? Her growing concern led her to spend more time investigating the brands she trusted. She discovered that some manufacturers were transparent, listing the exact species of tuna and even providing information about mercury levels on their websites. Others, however, offered little detail, making it nearly impossible for consumers to make informed decisions. Gianna's frustration was real, but it fueled her determination. One evening, while sharing her worries with her daughter, Gianna learned a valuable tip from a nutritionist friend. Never rely solely on the front label. The ingredient list and small print on the back could hold crucial clues. With her daughter's help, Gianna began to scrutinize every can she bought, searching for words like skipjack or yellowfin, and avoiding ambiguous labels. This new habit changed how she shopped and cooked. Simple actions like rotating tuna with other low-mercury fish, such as sardines or salmon, became part of her routine. Family dinners turned into moments of learning, with Gianna explaining why she chose certain foods over others. The kitchen became a place of care, not just convenience. Gianna's experience highlights a truth many overlook: packaging can hide as much as it reveals. Reading labels carefully isn't just about nutrition facts, it's about protecting yourself from unseen risks. This shift in behavior, from trusting labels blindly to questioning and researching, was a powerful step in her health journey. It shows that vigilance, even in small daily actions, can guard against long-term harm. With a better understanding of tuna types and labels, Gianna soon faced another realization: how much tuna was safe to eat in a week. Despite her love for the convenience and taste of canned tuna, she learned that eating too much could cause mercury to accumulate dangerously in her body over time. This wasn't just about avoiding certain types, but also about controlling the quantity. Her doctor had explained gently that mercury doesn't leave the body easily. It builds up slowly, especially in organs like the brain and kidneys. For seniors like Gianna, whose bodies might not clear toxins as efficiently, moderation was essential. The recommended amount was about 2 servings of seafood per week, with special attention to limiting high-mercury fish like albacore tuna. At first, Gianna found it challenging. Tuna was such a familiar part of her diet: quick salads, sandwiches, and light dinners. Cutting back felt like losing a comfort she depended on. But with support from her family, she started exploring alternatives. Salmon, sardines, and trout became new staples, offering rich omega-3s and lower mercury risks. She also experimented with plant-based sources of healthy fats, like flax seeds and walnuts. This change wasn't just dietary, it was emotional. Gianna felt proud of taking control of her health and grateful for the knowledge that helped her make informed decisions. She also noticed subtle improvements. Her energy felt steadier and the dizziness episodes less frequent. Sharing these positive changes encouraged her daughter and grandchildren to adopt healthier habits as well. Gianna's experience reminds us that balance matters just as much as choice. It's about nurturing the body without fear, but with respect for its limits. Managing tuna consumption wisely is part of a bigger picture. Listening to our bodies, honoring medical advice, and embracing variety in our diets to build resilience. As Gianna continued her journey towards safer tuna consumption, she discovered a surprisingly overlooked but vital habit: properly draining canned tuna before eating. It seemed like such a small detail, almost trivial, yet it made a significant difference in both taste and health. She learned that whether tuna was packed in water or oil, excess liquid could contain traces of metals and other unwanted substances. When she simply poured the tuna straight onto her salad or sandwich, those liquids stayed with the fish, diluting flavors and potentially increasing her mercury exposure. The watery texture also ruined the enjoyment of her favorite dishes. Gianna started experimenting with different ways to drain tuna, from placing it in a fine mesh strainer to pressing it gently with a fork to squeeze out every drop. Sometimes she used the lid trick, partially opening the can, pressing the lid against the fish, and flipping it over the sink. A quick and effective method that saved time. Her family chuckled at her newfound diligence, but they noticed the difference in her meals and appreciated her care. This small change gave Gianna a fresh sense of control. It was empowering to know that something so simple could reduce risk and improve her food's texture and taste. Beyond mercury, she was mindful that healthier eating often came down to these everyday practices that many overlooked. Gianna's experience is a reminder that wellness isn't only about big decisions, but also about mastering small habits. Paying attention to the little things, like draining tuna properly, adds up to greater health and peace of mind. It's about respect for our bodies and the food we choose to nourish them with. By the time Gianna reached this stage in her journey, she had learned a great deal about tuna's hidden risks and safe consumption. But one lingering question remained: should she choose tuna packed in oil or in water? Both options had pros and cons, and understanding these helped her make choices that fit her health goals. Gianna discovered that tuna packed in oil tends to hold on to more of the heavy metals because mercury binds to fats. That meant if she drained the oil thoroughly, she could remove a significant portion of contaminants. Plus, tuna and oil contain more calories and higher amounts of beneficial omega-3 and vitamin D, nutrients important for brain and heart health, especially in older adults. On the other hand, tuna packed in water had fewer calories, but the mercury stayed with the fish since there was no oil to trap it. This nuanced information shifted Gianna's approach. She started selecting tuna in oil when she wanted a nutrient boost, but made sure to drain it carefully every time. For lighter meals or when she wanted to reduce calorie intake, she preferred tuna in water but limited her portions. This balanced perspective helped her enjoy tuna without guilt or fear. Her family admired her thoughtful approach and often asked her advice when shopping. Gianna's journey transformed from one of worry into one of empowerment. She wasn't just avoiding risks, she was choosing foods that supported her health, energy, and joy. And that made all the difference. Gianna's story shows us that making informed, mindful choices, even about something as simple as the type of canned tuna, can be an act of love toward ourselves. It's about tuning in to what our bodies need, being willing to learn, and finding harmony between pleasure and well-being. After mastering the details about tuna types, mercury risks, and safe consumption, Gianna began to see her health journey in a broader light. It wasn't only about avoiding certain foods or reading labels carefully anymore. It was about embracing a holistic mindset that respected her body as a whole and prioritized long-term wellness. She started paying closer attention to other aspects of her lifestyle: hydration, sleep, gentle exercise, and stress management, all of which worked together to support her body's ability to detoxify and heal. Gianna realized that no single food or habit defined her health. Rather, it was the balance of many small choices made every day. Her family noticed this positive change too. Gianna seemed calmer, more energetic, and more present during family gatherings. She shared what she learned about nutrition, but also about listening to her body's signals and making adjustments without fear or guilt. This wisdom passed quietly between generations, planting seeds of awareness in her children and grandchildren. This shift in perspective marked a new chapter for Gianna. She wasn't a victim of hidden toxins anymore, but an active participant in her well-being. The journey had taught her patience, curiosity, and compassion for herself, a lesson far greater than any single dietary rule. Her story invites us all to step back and consider how our daily habits, mindset, and environment intertwine. True health blossoms not from perfection, but from mindful, consistent care. Like Gianna, we can all grow stronger, healthier, and more resilient by embracing this gentle yet powerful approach. As Gianna grew more confident in managing her health, she felt a strong desire to share her experience with those closest to her. She understood that many in her circle enjoyed canned tuna or other convenience foods without realizing the hidden risks. Rather than keeping her newfound knowledge to herself, Gianna chose to speak openly and gently about what she had learned. At family dinners, she began weaving stories about her journey, how a simple habit like draining tuna or reading labels carefully could protect the brain and body. Her warmth and honesty encouraged her children and grandchildren to listen without judgment. Some even started checking their own food choices and exploring healthier alternatives. Gianna's friends, initially skeptical, soon saw changes in her vitality and mood. Curious, they asked questions and gradually embraced her tips, creating a ripple effect of awareness in her community. Gianna's story became a beacon, showing that it's never too late to take charge of one's health. Through sharing, Gianna deepened her own commitment to well-being and found joy in helping others avoid the mistakes she once made. Her transformation was no longer just personal, it was a gift to those she loved. Gianna's journey toward better health wasn't without challenges. There were moments when old habits crept back, grabbing a quick tuna sandwich without checking the label or skipping meals in favor of convenience. Sometimes, fatigue or busy days made it tempting to ignore the careful steps she had worked hard to adopt. But what stood out was Gianna's resilience. Instead of feeling defeated, she treated setbacks as learning moments. When she slipped, she reflected on what triggered the lapse and recommitted herself to her goals with kindness rather than harshness. Her mindset shifted from perfection to progress, allowing her to maintain balance without pressure. Her family noticed this change too. They supported her gently, reminding her of the positive strides she had made and encouraging her to keep going. Gianna's experience highlights a powerful truth. Sustainable health comes not from flawless discipline, but from compassion and persistence. Her story teaches us that setbacks are natural but don't define our journey. What matters is how we respond, learn, and move forward, just like Gianna did. Months after her initial wake-up call, Gianna stood in her kitchen with a quiet sense of accomplishment. The dizziness had lessened, her memory felt sharper, and mealtimes became moments of joy rather than worry. She had transformed her relationship with food and with herself, one mindful choice at a time. Her family saw a new light in her eyes, a vitality that inspired them all. Gianna no longer feared hidden dangers lurking in familiar meals. Instead, she embraced knowledge and balance. She continued to enjoy tuna, now chosen carefully and prepared with intention, alongside a varied, nutrient-rich diet that supported her well-being. This renewal wasn't just physical, but deeply emotional and spiritual. Gianna's journey reminded her, and all who heard her story, that it's never too late to take control, to listen to one's body, and to nurture health with love and patience. Her experience offers hope to anyone feeling overwhelmed by health concerns. With awareness, support, and commitment, change is possible. Like Gianna, we can all celebrate renewal and step forward into brighter, healthier chapters of our lives. Gianna's journey began with subtle signs, moments of forgetfulness and dizziness that she once brushed off as normal aging. But these small warnings sparked a profound transformation. She moved from unaware and passive to informed and proactive, learning to identify the hidden mercury risks in canned tuna and making mindful choices to protect her brain and body. Along the way, she embraced moderation, careful label reading, and simple habits like properly draining tuna, all of which helped restore her confidence and vitality. Her story invites each of us to gently reflect on our own habits and the foods we trust daily. Sometimes, the smallest changes, reading a label more closely, choosing variety over routine, or simply listening to our bodies, can make a significant difference in our long-term health. It's never about fear or perfection, but about respect and care for ourselves. As you consider Gianna's experience, ask yourself, what small step can I take today to safeguard my well-being? How can I become a more mindful guardian of my health and that of my loved ones? Remember, every mindful choice is a seed of hope and renewal. With kindness and awareness, we can all nurture a healthier future, one thoughtful moment at a time.